And good morning from Singapore. We're here to cover favorite passion, which is watches. We're very fortunate to be joined by Josh, who's an esteemed and very valuable voice in the industry. And we'll be hearing from him about the 1916 company, about the icons of time, about this beautiful space that we're in. We'll also get his views on watch collecting, the customer experience, 1916 company's own endeavors to bring these beautiful timepieces to their clients, and we'll just extend from there. So right away, Josh, an extremely warm welcome, and thank you so much for graciously hosting us at this office. We'd like to start by giving us a little introduction about yourself and then about this beautiful space we're in.
Sure. Well, Tushar, I'd like to give you a very warm welcome to our Singapore Collectors Lounge. It's an absolute pleasure to have you here and the opportunity to connect with your audience. My name is Josh Strolovitz. I've been in the industry since 2011. I originally joined our parent company, which was Govberg Jewelers. At that time, our pre-owned trading business consisted of only 3 people, including myself. And that quickly grew and grew over time. Eventually, we set up the Watchbox trading business, which more of you are probably familiar with. And then a year after, in 2017, we took the decision to branch out internationally and open our first outfit here in Hong Kong. And after Hong Kong, of course, came Singapore, then China, and many other locations followed suit. So the growth of the collecting community here in Asia in particular, it's truly a driving force in the global world of watches. And it's absolutely paramount for us to dedicate as much effort as we can to this market.
Sure. Now, we are here at a very opportune moment where you all are having a viewing of the icons of time.
Yes.
So could you give us a little idea what this is, how did this come about, and let's dwell on that.
Sure. So when we say icons of time, we're really focusing on 2 of our favorite watchmakers, of course, FPJ and Debthune. And this exhibition really serves as a retrospective for these 2 watchmakers. When most people view the former Watchbox business, now the 1916 business, we're really known as a destination for the independent watch space. And as such, we greatly value these 2 watchmakers above all others. So what we've done here in Singapore is we've put together a curated selection of some of our favorite creations from these 2 great watchmakers.
Sure. And we'll be unraveling the beauty of these watches as we go along. Josh, what I've done is a brief Q&A.
Sure.
And I'd like your thoughts on aspects of the business, the customer experience. So if you're okay with it, I'd like to start. What makes FPJ and Debthune so unique as compared to other luxury watch brands that you carry?
I think these 2 watchmakers in particular are very unique in that they have 3 elements which not all brands are fortunate enough to possess for a variety of reasons. Number 1, they have a very unique design language. Of course, FPJ is classically, designed with their own cues, which make them unlike anything else in the industry. Debthune has some classical elements in the early pieces. The modern ones are very avant-garde in their nature, which people love and respect for different reasons. So unique design language and limited but sufficient production capacity every year.
Yeah.
So they're not overproducing. They are exclusive, but enough to support the market. And then on top of this, and I think most importantly, they have a very recognizable and well understood watchmaker.
What are the questions customers ask you when considering either of these 2 brands?
Because these watches are not inexpensive, for someone who may be new to the independent watch space, a lot of the initial questions may be centered around, rarity, production numbers, exclusivity. For some of the more seasoned or more mature watch collectors, people really want to understand the technical nuances that go into these watches, mechanical architectures, innovations in the movements. What are these watchmakers doing that really sets them apart from all the others?
So I want to touch upon the collectability aspect of it. have you seen an increase in interest and or demand for these brands in the recent years?
Yeah, it's a great question. Leading up to the COVID period, there was always a lot of accessible information when it came to the blue chip watch brands, your Rolex, your Patek Philippe, your Audemars Piguet as examples. However, there wasn't so much accessible, meaningful information when it came to the independent watch brands. As a result of the COVID period, when all of us, were stuck at home, a lot of content producers were disseminating information on these more niche products, which allowed all of us to have a more accessible and deep view into what these watchmakers were doing. As a result, the understanding, the knowledge, and as a result, the demand for these products has been a leading charge in the watch market as we see it today.
I'm sure the ownership experience itself is coveted amongst collectors. So what I wanted to understand is how do these brands FPJ and Debthune support their customers post-purchase?
It's a good question. I mean, the most simple form, as any brand would. Of course, when you buy a brand new product from either of these brands, you get a warranty, which, gives some peace of mind after the fact. You see some collectors groups that have more or less been endorsed by the brands themselves. For example, you have the FPJ Society, which started off as a independent, watch collectors, group, which really fostered a sense of meaningful connection, knowledge sharing, and also watch sharing.
Sure.
Amongst those pieces. And that kind of grew and grew over the years. We're at a point now you have a meaningful relationship between that society and the brand itself.
Sure.
And at Debthune as well recently helped to start the collector-led DB Circle, which is a collector-run and organized organization that helps to foster, again, knowledge sharing, events,
right,
and other initiatives like this,
right,
for owners of the DB product.
Okay.
Yes.
That's interesting to know. What has been a memorable sale or a client interaction involving either of these brands? And if you could, elaborate, how did it go?
Sure. My all-time personal grail watch is the FPJ Ruby Tourbillon. That's a watch that, since it was released around 2016, 2017, really captured my heart. And I had the opportunity in the end of 2017, early 18, to sell that watch to a very dear friend of mine and obviously a very big client of ours as well. And for me, it was a very meaningful moment because it marked the only time I had that watch in my hands.
Sure.
And I was able to share it with a very dear friend who now has that watch in his collection. I've been trying very hard to get that watch back, but understandably, he's not willing to part with that piece, which I also appreciate and respect. Yeah.
Have you had an interaction with the founders of these companies, be it FPJ or Dedi Flageolet?
Sure. So with FPJ first, back in around 2015, Dovberg Jewelers actually became an authorized retailer for FPJ.
Sure.
At that time, we had a really lovely opening party where Francois Paul himself came to Philadelphia. We hosted a wonderful dinner and had the opportunity to meet him and really speak with him, which was a wonderful experience. When it comes to Debthune, of course, the man behind these creations is Denis Flageolet, as we all know. Denis is a very interesting character. Unlike FP, he's a bit more reserved and much more prefers to be, working on his watches rather than socializing. So to have the opportunity to go to Switzerland, St. Croix, his home,
right,
and spend the time in his own element, he really opened up. We had the most wonderful time chatting with him. And, Denis truly is a Renaissance man when it comes to his own character. Of course, he is a watchmaker, obviously,
yes,
but he's very much a engineer. He's an astronomer. He's a scientist. He's a poet. He's an artist.
Yeah.
And all these elements of his character and personality really come through in his watches. And for me, when I had that experience of being in his own element and seeing that,
sure,
the unique design language of what goes into his watches finally clicked. because some of these watches may be a bit more reserved, which we'll see later. Some are more futuristic, again, avant-garde, as I said earlier.
Yes.
And it's hard to understand that until you meet the man himself.
Yeah.
So anybody who goes to Switzerland, let me know. We can arrange a time to go spend time with the factory.
That would be really interesting.
It's an invaluable experience, and especially for Debthune owners, to go to the factory, meet the man himself, and understand the story. It's really the coolest thing.
We will definitely come back to this point. Josh, I wanted to ask you, as far as the future of independent watchmaking is concerned, if someone is new to independent watchmaking, how would you guide them towards these brands?
I think the most important thing to do is to get these watches in your hand, even just for the sake of experience and feeling. You know, it's really wonderful to see all these pictures on Instagram and other sources, but nothing beats having these watches, again, in your hand. And for me, whenever I see these pieces, it really makes my heart skip a beat, and I'm surrounded by these every day. So I imagine someone who maybe doesn't have that experience, the first time you have that, it really is a monumental moment in the watch collecting journey for any collector. So if there are collectors communities locally in your community, definitely recommend you to engage, ask questions, lean on other collectors for advice and support. And don't feel shy about going into the local authorized retailers.
Sure.
To ask questions. That's why these people are there. I know sometimes it is a bit intimidating. I understand that. We need to leverage it. Stupid way to say it.
Yeah. So with regard to Debthune and FPJ, have there been any misconceptions of the brand? And if so, what has been that misconception? And, we'll talk about that first.
Debthune, the common question that we get is that, is Denny a real Star Trek?
Yeah.
Not.
Yeah.
A common theme you see on a lot of his watches is that triangular, shape.
Yeah.
Which is on the dial of this piece, which we'll explore later.
Sure.
On other watches, it might be on the movement side. And it's really not anything to do with Star Trek. It's what he calls the deltoid, which is a common theme we see here in nature.
Sure.
It's really meant to be a show of force or strength.
Sure.
That triangular pattern, resembles the mountains, the trees,
Really? Okay.
Leaves. So it's meant to be a show of fortitude, persistence in nature. And, common to popular belief, it's nothing to do with our, dear friends who follow Star Trek.
Sure. Thank you so much. That was really insightful. I also wanted to, with regard to the customer experience, have you had a client who came in for another brand and possibly left with an FPJ or a Debthune?
It happens more often than one would think. And the reason being, a lot of people, through talking with their friends, their family, other fellow collectors, more often than not, the advice or the instruction they may receive is to focus on the blue chip brands.
Right.
Vacheron Constantin, Patek Philippe, Audemars Piguet. And don't get me wrong, these are absolutely phenomenal brands and they deserve that attention.
Yes.
And they may not have an opportunity to really talk about, understand, or handle FPJ or Debthune as an example. So when they come into our space asking for a AP, and then we have all these beautiful FPJs or DBs on display, like, oh, wait a minute, what is that? Okay. So we show them, give the explanation, really introduce these beautiful creations.
Sure.
And it really clicks for a lot of really more mature watch collectors that these watches are seriously impressive in terms of the finishing. Everything is done in-house. Production numbers, unique design language. And as a result, many opt to go down that road as opposed to the blue chip brands.
Sure. The first experience people have with these brands is weightless. So, how does the presence of weightless affect, the way customers approach these brands?
Sure. So for many brands, for FPJ, and if one walks into the boutique today, more often than not, if you're not a VVIP, you will likely be told there's a 3, 4, 5+ year waiting list.
3 to 5 year waiting from the time you walk in.
That's right. I was recently told by a friend of mine, he wanted to get on list for the Chronometric Blue FPJ, and he was told 8 years.
8 years?
8 years, which I think is FPJ's politically correct way of saying, maybe you will not be able to get this watch, but thank you for your interest. So how does this affect our business? With our platform, the 1916 company, we're so proud as watch lovers and collectors ourselves that we have what is the largest privately held collection of watches everywhere in the world. And all of our inventory you see in our lounges, on our website, these are not watches that we have on consignment. These are 100% owned by our company.
Right.
So this means if you too sure want to sell your old you're into our company, of course we'll do an inspection, make sure it's authentic and it's working, all of that.
Sure.
And then we buy the watch outright from you. So when somebody is buying the watch from us after the fact, they can rest assured that because we have added this watch to our own collection with our own money, there can be full confidence that the watch is, fully ready to go. And then on top of that, just as a further testament to our confidence in these pieces, the 2-year warranty would be provided on any of these watches.
Okay.
And when it comes to pieces like that chronometer blue, if you cannot get the watch from the boutique and you don't want to buy all the bundling and go through the whole process, we welcome everybody to come and find those watches on our platform, which we do have on a regular basis.
Sure. When it comes to clients, are they extremely research driven, or do they still rely heavily on the in-store experience?
The majority of people we speak to now, whether they're just starting out in their watch collecting journey or they're more seasoned, because of what we saw in the COVID period, with more content being shared on social media, everybody seems to be much more informed. And as such, the conversations we have with our collectors, our clients, our new friends, they're much more meaningful and at a higher level. So I think as we go forward, that's only going to improve further and further. And it's wonderful to see that people are taking the time, at home to research and really understand these products. And it could be on forums, platforms like yourselves, other YouTube channels, and of course 1960 we do produce as well. Sure. The level of attention and devotion that people are paying to these watches, it really is a wonderful thing.
Josh, could you give us a perspective on the 1916 company's endeavors to reach out to the new generation of collectors, specifically with regard to the digital footprint you have?
Yes, absolutely. A lot of people find us and know our brand from our online content that we produce. For more than 10 years, nearly 15 years now, we've been a leading voice online with our videos that we produce on YouTube. We have one of our colleagues, Tim, also in the US, who I'm so proud to call a dear friend and a colleague of mine. Tim is one of the most knowledgeable and important voices in the industry. And over the years, he's created thousands and thousands of these watch review videos, collectors' conversations, industry insights. And even for myself, it's a source of knowledge that without it, I think would be a great detriment to the industry as a whole, especially for the collectors. Sure.
I personally follow Tim, and the way he breaks down concepts and makes it so easy to understand, that's something I always use as a reference when I'm going into a store. Always remember, what was Tim's perspective on this.
Tim, the way he speaks in person when you meet him one day is exactly the same as how he speaks in videos.
Right.
It's the most sincere and genuine. Again, he's just the most knowledgeable guy in the industry I've ever met. He's such an asset, and the content he produces has enabled us to connect with people all around the world in a really meaningful way.
Sure. And Josh, I'd like to end with the Indian context. So, what interest are you seeing originating from India, be it retailers, be it enthusiasts, be it collectors? What is the interest you're hearing from India as a market?
I've been fortunate enough in the past, really only 3 or 4 years, to be connected with some really passionate and serious collectors from India.
Right.
And what I've learned is we always knew that it's a very powerful market, especially when it comes to brands like Rolex, Patek Philippe, of course. But some of the knowledge and understanding these particular collectors I've met, the knowledge they have when it comes to independence is second to none. And therefore the demand they have is also very strong.
Right.
The issue they face, from what I understand, is really just a lack of accessibility.
Sure.
So in the local market there,
Yeah.
it may be very difficult or more difficult to go somewhere face to face and see these pieces. Whereas you really have to come somewhere like Singapore, Hong Kong,
Sure.
Europe, or the US to see some independent watches. So as a result, I think there definitely is a rumbling of discussion taking place in that market when it comes to independence.
Sure.
And the demand is building. And we would love to welcome everybody to come to Singapore and Hong Kong, of course, to meet us.
Sure.
And I would love to see perhaps in the next, foreseeable future, perhaps we can set up an event somewhere in the Indian market.
Yeah, collector conversations is something a lot of enthusiasts look forward to. India is an insight-driven market. They look for newer aspects of the brand or a particular model. So any evolving information that concerning the brand or something. So we like to know about that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. We have a regular program here in Asia of traveling to markets where we do not have a physical presence. So, of course, we're currently in Hong Kong, Singapore, and Shanghai, but we have a regular program of events in Thailand, Japan, Philippines, just as a couple examples.
Sure.
So I think it's very possible that in the near term we could include India in some capacity in that routine. I would love to work with you to help make that a reality.
Excellent. That's excellent news. Right. And on that note, Josh, thank you so much for taking out your time and giving us these valuable insights. And we will be, as far as Indian collectors and enthusiasts go, we will be looking forward to interactions with the 1916 company. And I can assure you that there will be a lot of interest in India with regard to the brands you have. And so, until the next one, it's goodbye from Singapore.